Welcome to another episode of GlideChat. My name is Mike Lombardo, CEO of GlideFast. Today with me, I have David Self and Matt Gerry. Matt, David, what's going on?
Going well. How are you doing, guys?
Well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm excited. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do here at GlideFast?
Awesome. I'll go first. Dave Self. I'm a technical architect. I'm also a service delivery director. So I help head up the HR pod here at GlideFast. Been working in the platform for I think 12 years now. So seen a lot over the years.
Awesome, Matt.
Yeah, my name's Matt Gerry, aka Matt Gerry.
I always get that wrong. I always think about it. And I always get it wrong.
Everyone always gets it wrong. No worries. No, no offense taken. But yeah, I'm a service delivery manager and architect here at GlideFast. And just like Dave, I operate in our HRSD pod. And I've been around the ServiceNow tool for since 2011 in some form or fashion. And then been on the technical development side probably since about 2014 or so.
That's crazy. And that's, so that means combined, I started about 2010, 2011 too. So combined that we have over 30 years, 3 decades of ServiceNow experience. That's pretty cool. Right. Let's talk about HR. So tell me, like, in your opinion, what is the biggest difference from ServiceNow's HR platform or application versus the next leading HR system? Let's say Workday. Like, what's the difference between ServiceNow, HR, and Workday?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I just think the platform that ServiceNow provides and the flexibility and functionality at the end of the day. So, ServiceNow is a workflow platform. Mm-hmm. So we can leverage all of the power of the workflow for our HR processes. Obviously, ServiceNow started out in ITSM, but they were able to leverage all of that functionality within HR. So being able to automate, these manual tasks that HR typically has to do, being able to, automate notifications to bring the user experience portion, which is from an HR perspective, it's just massive. I think user experience is big everywhere, but especially for HR, when you're talking onboarding, bringing in new employees, that's your first glimpse into an organization. So being able to have that flexibility to create that wonderful user experience from an onboarding perspective, from the, a new hire perspective, but then having the power on the back end to be able to automate these tasks that you need to do and notify people of, certain events that are happening and being able to schedule meetings. And even with the new journey designer and journey management stuff, it's just unbelievable the amount of power and flexibility you have to accommodate essentially every use case that you can think of within HR.
Yeah, it's crazy how, just a few years ago we didn't even have an HR application in ServiceNow, right? And we've seen all the Frankensteins, people creating their own things, and then and then to see it get rolled out, then the scoped app, and then some of these new features that are coming up. Now it's just like off to the races. Now that the foundation's been laid, it seems like every new release is just like a game changer. These are obviously probably pretty challenging implementations, right? Or what are maybe some of the pitfalls to watch out for? Or, if a customer's looking to implement HR, what's something they should keep in mind?
Yeah. So, I mean, the number one thing that we see, and we've done like 18 of these, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years. Big ones. Anyway, I mean, we do phased projects too, but the thing we see the most in like a normal implementation is, IT is sort of the people that run the platform, and then HR is like an afterthought. And HR kind of limps in and says, hey, we kind of want to see if we can put HR into ServiceNow. And then the IT departments, they're sort of on the hook for maintaining it. So they're kind of like nervous or maybe have some anxiety about it. And they want to be involved, but they don't want to be involved. And then there's sort of a push and pull between who's going to be responsible for it and who should, you know what I mean? That happens all the time. So my advice to everyone, if they're looking at getting HR in ServiceNow, is get your product owners the people that own HR, at least from a technical perspective. It doesn't necessarily have to be the leadership, because the leadership's going to decide they want to do this, right? They're either going to want to do it or not. They've already looked at the numbers. They've already figured out the money. They've already figured out the math. They're going to want to do it or not. It's the IT people. You got to get the people that are actually going to be using it involved early, and you want to have them talk to IT and kind of work that out. That's the number one thing we see. And the sooner you get in front of it, the better off you'll be.
There always seems to be a challenge between IT and HR, right? There's I don't know what it is, but
it's like this. I mean,
oil and water. HR
has a sort of a power that they don't wield on their sleeve, right? People are like, oh, I don't want to get involved with HR. Oh, I'm scared. Everybody has that, in every company, everywhere in the world, in police departments, in medical industry. They're like, oh, I don't want HR involved.
That's true. That's true, right? Yeah, it is. I didn't even think of that.
So they let them get away with stuff.
Yeah,
the company will let HR kind of do things whether it's right or wrong, to a certain degree. But if they're not involved with IT, it always struggles in the beginning. But eventually we work it out, and we're used to that here. I mean, we've seen it. We know how to deal with it. We know how to get in front of it. But that's my biggest advice.
That's great. And Matt, like, from when you're working with different HR organizations, are they kind of victim to some of the same challenges we're seeing with other business units out there, that like lack of automation? Like, where do you think like the current state of the HR departments?
So that's an interesting one. So in my experience, I think Dave can attest to this as well, is I think we've come across a lot of organizations where HR is, I'll say, still in the past, in that they're still utilizing spreadsheets, emails, really manual processes to do a lot of their HR work. And I don't think that's just for smaller organizations. I think it is, some of the larger organizations too. It's just that there hasn't really been something as powerful as, the HRSD application within HR or within ServiceNow to be able to handle all of these different things that HR does. Because there's a lot of, just HR is a bit sensitive by nature, right? And there's certain hand holding and certain things that you have to do with HR. So I think having that ability for these organizations to move from spreadsheets and emails and these very long, complicated and manual processes to be able to automate it into our workflows, and being able to, create our different services and kind of break things out as needed. I think that's huge. So I think there's a lot of organizations that are moving to that. But I also think with that also poses some challenges, and kind of what Dave talked about as well, having HR communicate with IT, because typically IT is going to be your platform owners, right? There's always got to be that communication. So the communication is absolutely key for an HR implementation in general.
Because if you think about HR, similar to IT, HR is that one business unit that touches every aspect of the organization, right? And I think a lot of times we're seeing some of the, I see some of the conflicts with IT and HR. It's because, HR is like, this is what we need it. And IT's always been, and I think it's for every department, right? IT's like, no, you're going to use this system and you're going to do this. And so I think that's a lot of times you see that kind of the differentiation. And I'm not an HR expert, and I've lost my technical chops. That you guys don't let me have the admin role anymore. But like what I noticed right off the bat, like when the first version of the HR app came out, or even the scoped app, it was like, it almost looked like different developers built it, right? Like it has different security model. It has rightfully so, right? But it's I'm curious what you guys think of, like what your favorite features are in the HR app, whether they're new or just like what's different with the rest of the platform.
By the way, just the reason that I went all in on HR was because of that scoped app. Like I started tearing that thing apart and I saw what they had done and I was like, this is going to be a game changer. I always talk about this. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when all three of us were getting into ServiceNow, do you guys remember what it was like? Like all these companies were doing what HR does. They were sitting in these spreadsheets. They didn't have any processes. They didn't even know what ITIL was.
Yeah.
Like half these people. So
That's
now
true.
ServiceNow has become like the bar. If you don't have ServiceNow and you don't have ITIL, people are like, what are you doing? You know? So ServiceNow, what they're doing right now is they're going to like build a framework for HR. That's what they're doing. And that's what I thought was fantastic because it's like a rinse, wash, repeat. It's happening for HR now. They're trying to digitize. They're trying to get all that messy, murky grayness of HR into something and have a place that they can do their work and leave and go home and then come back and it's still sitting there. You know, it's not this like, where's the SharePoint? Where's this? And so what I would say my favorite thing in there's two things that I really like. One is the way that the document management and the way you can like show a PDI and have someone sign it and have them fill out all this stuff.
Yeah.
I just think that is so cool. Like when I first saw that work, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm going to get a little nerdy real quick, but behind the scenes, it takes the document and it takes and breaks it all out into these objects, right? And once you have these objects, you can do whatever you want with it with JavaScript. So you can get kind of really nerdy with it, you know? And whoever thought that up is brilliant as far as I'm concerned. And then the second thing that I really like is this new EC portal. I'm in love with it. I think it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And when you talk to people about why would they use Workday versus ServiceNow, the number one thing that I hear people saying, like there may be other things, but it's not easy to make the portal do things in Workday. It's not easy to make it look cool or like change things around and make things work dynamically. That's what I hear a lot. ServiceNow with this EC, it's so cool. Like it's so simple to set it up. And like, you don't have to be a hardcore programmer or UI person to make it do really cool things. Whereas you really do have to be that way in Workday.
Yeah, that's cool.
Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with Dave too. I love the Employee Center portal. I think there's just so much flexibility and I think it does a very good job of bridging the gap between your typical developer and your kind of citizen developer in a way. Even though you're not really developing, you're configuring. There's a lot of options in the back end where you can configure what you want to show EC, which makes it very dynamic. And to me, from thinking through the lens or perspective of an administrator who might not be that technical, I mean, that's got to be a game changer that, hey, we can add these links, we can add these banners and what's important to this section of employees, right? So, we can make it, we can have banners displayed to you with relevant information.
Yeah,
the context, right?
Yeah, so all the content experience, all of that, and being able to just configure that on the back end, and you can run it through approvals, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. But being able to be able to configure that on the back end by just filling out some forms and having it display, I mean, it's huge compared to having to go into build your own widget and write all your Angular and all your code that you need to have this widget run. It's already here, it's dynamic, and you're just kind of in the back end plugging stuff in. Awesome. So yeah, that part's awesome. But I also, on top of that, very excited about the new Journey Designer functionality. Yeah. So
talk to me about that. What is that?
Yeah. So Journey Designer is a new functionality that ServiceNow is rolling out or rolled out with Tokyo. I think they actually had it prior. I think they called it Journey Accelerator, I believe it was. And then rebranded it. So it's Journey Designer, but it allows you the flexibility to create these journeys for employees, whether it's onboarding, whether it's, career growth, whether it's, manager transitioning, anything that you need to do to kind of create these journeys. So it plays into both the Employee Center because it's on Employee Center and there's a whole cool user interface for it. But it also plays into lifecycle events. And so lifecycle events, being what ServiceNow had prior to Journey Designer,
Yep.
where we could, schedule our activities for a new hire. What do you need to do for pre-boarding, day 1, 30 days out, etc. So with Journey Designer, it actually gives us another layer, so we can have our lifecycle event run and basically handle all of the tasks and activities that need to happen for more of a broader audience in the organization. But then the Journey Designer can sit on top of that, and we can then make it very dynamic and very specific and targeted to who we want to go through these particular tasks. So, if we have somebody coming on in sales, obviously they don't need to do any tasks that need to get ramped up on development practices that we're doing internally, right?
That's awesome.
Exactly. So it gives I think the coolest part about that is not only is it, I think it leverages the existing lifecycle events and then adds to it, but it also gives the hiring manager, but really the owner of this journey, the ability or the flexibility to add any number of tasks that they want to. So as your journey goes, you can say, you can specify mentors, and even mentors can have some, you can set it up for the mentors can create meetings, they can create tasks, you can have the owner create tasks, you can build templates, reusable templates, and apply those to each of your journeys. But it just gives you, it gives you the ability to tie that lifecycle event of all your core activities that you need to do to get onboarded to the organization. But then the owner, the hiring manager, or really the owner of that journey, they have so much flexibility to create tasks and meetings and whatever they need to do that's very specific to not only their department, maybe even just their team, right? So it's just being able to marry that all together and adding the flexibility, I think, is the biggest piece that I'm very excited about.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, wow. I could just, like, as you're describing it, I can visualize, right? And I'm like thinking to how GlideFast and the different personas and different roles and the different, personalization, that I'd love to see, for each persona. I mean, that's pretty cool. And I know we're running out of time here, but I'd love to hear maybe one thing that you'd love to either see in the HR app in the future, or that is coming. I always like the Wayne Gretzky quote, right? Where the puck's going to be, so where's play where the puck's going to be. So where is the puck going to be? Like, what's next with ServiceNow HR?
I have an idea, Matt. I'll let you go after me, but I think that this is just a total guess, but I really feel like ServiceNow's earned a lot of trust this last 3 or 4 years with this new version. And I think that a lot of organizations are going to start really looking hard at it. And the one thing that it can't do is cut checks, right? It can't do ADP. It can't do, and there's like 4 or 5 of those. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know ADP. Yeah. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what that is.
Paychecks.
Yeah. Yep. Paychecks, 401k tying into Fidelity, all that stuff, taxes and all that. Yeah. I really feel like they're probably going to acquire something like that. And I mean, I don't know why
they have to acquire though, or
I don't know, or maybe make an integration, a dedicated integration, something like that,
or builds, right? Why I don't like that's what I love so much about ServiceNow is just like, and I know they've obviously done many acquisitions, right? Yeah, but it's never been something that really changes the core platform, right? Like you look at like Salesforce, they're doing integration. They have to buy stuff because they can't build it.
They can't,
And that's a great point, because I was talking to somebody about that before, of like, why can't we do payroll through ServiceNow?
I know.
Pay the taxes.
If you took 6 of us architects and put
I know we can build it, right?
For like 6,
I think there's some other challenge.
Well, you know what I think it is? I think that's the reason I think they're going to buy. It's because they want the name recognition, right?
Maybe.
You see what I'm saying? It's how it is. You're at the higher level. You're looking at the whole field.
Yeah.
There's like politics, and there's like.
Well, I mean, if we could do it in service, I mean, we love drinking our own champagne, right?
Yeah.
If we could, and I'd love to be able to eliminate another system, because that's like the one system that you know, I'm not gonna say what we use, but
Yeah.
you know, that's like a one system that we have to not use ServiceNow for, right? We use ServiceNow for
Everything.
recruiting, sales, you know,
Yep.
time cards, everything, right? Resourcing, but like payroll is just that has to be done outside of ServiceNow. And Matt, do you have any thoughts on that as to like maybe why they don't? Or
honestly, I don't know about why. I agree though. I think it'd be awesome. I mean, I think we're all on the same page, right? If we could build all of these separate third-party applications within ServiceNow, I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's always tough. You know, there could, you know, potentially, I don't know, like, you know, policies or regulations or things that you also have to. That's not necessarily the development portion of it.
Yeah.
But along the same lines, I would love to see ServiceNow have a true like ATS system or be able to be your system of record for HR, for employee data, right? Because I think that's
ERP, right?
Right. Yeah. Be your ERP. Because I think that one of the big things, you know, that we deal with quite a bit is that we're always integrating between, you know, Taleo or PeopleSoft or some other system of record. And it just adds another layer, right? You just have to keep data in track and make sure that everything's in sync and an extra layer. But imagine if you have that data in ServiceNow already, you don't have to worry about any of these integrations. It's all there for you. You can just leverage it however you need to. And really just, to me, I think it would just really beef up what is already in ServiceNow. So selfishly, I think, you know, being a ServiceNow consultant and developer and working with this, I'd love to see that be in place and just have one less, you know, system that you have to worry about integrating with.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like such a huge market for ServiceNow to go after.
Yeah.
It's almost like that, the ERP and CRM, and there's nothing left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of GlideChat. I think this is going to go viral. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and check us out on Spotify as well if you're not.